Hello, everybody. Welcome to LeagueGaming.com. Welcome to the first episode of CHL The Zone. I am Mr. B Major here, and I am here doing an interview with one of the balls and the commissioner of the CHL, Z3NO, and Billy Smith. Say hello to the people, guys.
Hello.
Hola.
Alright, so what I'm going to be doing is that I'm going to be asking them a couple questions about the Season 7 here at the CHL, and first off I'm going to kind of let you guys explain, how you got here and what led you to this point. I will start with Z3NO.
Okay, basically what it was is I managed Providence in season 17 and 18, and then we were extremely successful during that time. And then I also was commissioner in a FIFA league in that other website that no one talks about. So and then I was owner in a couple FIFA leagues and, GM and AGM and like everything you can think of pretty much. So, I decided to take a year off from management and asked Brody if I could be a staff, and particularly wanted to be a ball against at first. But he told me with the success I had and with everything going on, he thought I'd be better off as a commissioner. And I took about 2 weeks before I finally got back to him on it. And after thinking everything through and thinking about how I could help the league, I decided to go ahead with it. And that led to, a second season in charge and, led to me meeting Billy here. And, so I think, the first season we had together, we didn't have everything go the way we wanted it to, especially with a lot of GMs quitting. But I think everything was extremely successful. So, yeah.
Alright, that was definitely a interesting, as it seems like you kind of had like a lot of different leadership roles as you kind of climbed your way to the top before getting that big role in the CHL commissioner.
Yeah, definitely.
Alright, now we will go over to Billy and kind of get his journey on how he got to this point.
I started off in the VHL, season 9. Been around forever ever since. I've managed a couple teams in the CHL and the AHL and the VHL. Then I came here and I'm kind of towards the end of my Sixers career, and I wanted to do more to help out this great league. So I approached the league on trying to become bog, and here I am today.
That's nice, man, definitely. And I think this is both of you guys' second season as CHL staff, so you guys are kind of used to some of the things that go along, and you guys have kept some things, and you've also changed some things between season 6 and season 7, and we will actually get into that here in a bit. So without further ado, let's get into the questions. So the first thing I'm going to ask is with the management selection. I know there were a lot of guys that applied for management. I know there were close to around 30 to 40 posts for management applications. What kind of GM were you necessarily looking for? Like, what was the kind of person that you were really looking for to get a management spot?
Well, essentially what we were looking for is could they last throughout the entire season? Like, I sat down with Billy and my new blog, Chewbacca. We sat down together and we just thought, how would each of these GMs be able to make it through the entire season? Like, who would be able to make it? Like, what kind of questions can we ask to see if they could make it, And what a lot of people didn't realize is, we weren't looking for anything in particular, We were trying to get an idea about how experienced a person might be, how ready they were for the position, basically just trying to get an overall understanding of who they were as a person, and from that, we made our selections from there. The answers to the questions didn't really matter too much, There were some buzzwords we were looking for, especially, the buzzwords are mainly like we wanted to understand that all the GMs understood what it means to have chemistry between the lines, what it means to build a complete team, not just focus on one line and then everybody else, just forget them,
Mhm.
and understand that, even though at that time you guys didn't know we were going to have a draft, my Bogs actually didn't know that either. I was the only one to know between Brody and myself,
Mhm.
but we wanted to make sure that if we gave you a position in management, would you be able to build a very successful team? And success is not measured by whether or not you win or lose. It's measured by, especially in the CHL, it's measured by how much fun you have and if you can keep an entire team together and understand that, the longevity of everybody in this league is is very important to the CHL. If you could have an entire team not quit on you, like not a single one, to me that's an extremely successful team. So basically what we were looking for is who you were as a person. You know, could you could you take everything that we showed you, everything that we threw at you, and could you bring it all together and understand what it takes to be a GM? You know, especially this season, because this season is not going to be easy for anybody. It's a summer season, and a lot of people think, oh, it's not a big deal, it's short, but essentially it's 6 weeks. It's going to be hard because you don't have a lot of time to build your teams. You don't have a lot of time to build chemistry. When people quit, especially this season in management, it's a 2-season ban automatically. Like, I don't have a say in that. Nobody has a say in it. Because we're moving to the one next season, it's an automatic 2-season ban. So we wanted to put people in place where we gave them a chance to succeed. So that's basically what we were looking for.
Yeah, and you had also mentioned the draft, which we are going to get into in a bit. But Billy, what are your thoughts on that? With the process of management selection, and what kind of manager were you looking for necessarily? Like, what kind of, how did you know that you think that somebody would be the right fit for a job?
Pretty much just the way they approached us and their approach to everything. We can tell if they were more level-headed or if they were more of a guy who we can tell if they were going to bail out pretty soon. But for the most part, like you said, there were maybe 30 applicants. We needed to fill 20 spots. I'm going to be dead honest. I don't think we had 20 guys that we sat there and went, they're all going to last. It's a CHL. We know what's going to happen, and we had to get the 20 best guys that out of those applicants, and out of the ones that came, yeah, I think we did, and that's pretty much how it is. We were very, very limited for the summer season, and we got out of the guys that we got applied, we had the 30 best guys or 20 best guys.
Yeah, man, I definitely I know there was a lot of applicants. I know there was a couple of troll applications in there, but I think that a lot of people agreed with some of the applicants that you guys have gotten. I know there's a couple of guys that are in their first season, and I wish the best of luck to everybody. But I guess we'll get on to the next questions here. And this is one that a lot of people have been asking, and I know some people don't know, but there's going to be a CHL draft this year, and for the past couple years, we've had a CHL bidding just like the AHL and NHL have. Would you guys care to explain kind of like why we went with the draft this season instead of a bidding? Because I know that there's a lot of people that are probably wondering that question, why we just didn't go with the bidding like we usually do every season.
Well, the main reason why Brody and I sat down and thought that it was better to go with a draft this season than bidding is because, one, we believe that a draft could improve the longevity of the league overall, because that's really what we're trying to do, especially with a season like this where, this is a bridge season between NHL 15 and NHL 16. There's a lot of people that take the summer off and don't bother to play, and then there's, at the same time, though, the talent level is very high, but we wanted to make sure that we could actually, keep the CHL alive and well for as long as possible, and we feel like a draft could definitely do that, because a lot of problems that we were having last season was where GMs were quitting because they figured out that they spent way too much money on one line and then they were losing everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Or in the process of J Money, I love J Money. He's a great guy, good goalie, but not worth $7 million. No goalie, including myself or Billy, is worth $7 million. Okay, in any league. Okay, so and I tried to stress that before bidding last season, and no one seemed to really understand that. So, a lot of people went in, and while London was mildly successful after acquiring J Money, they were only really successful after losing his contract. So
Mm-hmm.
we thought we would go ahead and kind of take that out of your hands and let everybody focus on building a team and understanding what it means to build a team. Let's not have everybody sit there and spend money on everything, because bidding's really easy as you move up in the levels, as you understand what you're looking for as a GM, as you play, as you manage. You can understand what it means to build a team. But as it stands now, we thought it would be better to have a draft where, you know, top to bottom, you can build pretty much your entire team. You have your 15-man roster, not including your GM and your AGM, and then you have your 10 to 12 training camp players. It's all there for you guys to be successful, and that was the reasoning behind it. We wanted to try to make sure that, one, the CHL was balanced. Two, the CHL, the GMs had a real chance to be successful this season. And beyond that, that the CHL would have a really good chance to be successful from many, many seasons on after this. Even after me and Billy leave these positions, we hope that these changes that we implemented this season will keep the CHL running strong for a very long time.
Yeah, and the thing about the the thing about the draft is that I don't think anyone necessarily saw this coming. Like, I know that last season, take Violent Fetus for example. He's a goalie, got bid at $10 million in the first 15 minutes of the bidding. He was traded around to it was so hard for Sudbury, even after their GM that bidded the $10 million got banned. It was so hard for them to build a team that was structured, because half of their salary was already bidded on for a goalie. And I don't even think that goalie was their starting goalie. I think that was their backup for the first week or two. So that kind of I know that kind of could be a good example. But Billy, what are your thoughts on the draft? Do you necessarily think that how yeah, like, what do you think of it?
I think it has positives and its negatives. Like when the CHL first started in its VHL days, it was all pretty much random assignments and all that. Then they went into bidding, and then and now they have the draft. Um, and the thing is, like, I think it has its positives to help the newer GMs, but for the most part, they're going to be bidding for the first time if they move up to the AHL. And that's, I think, that's a little bit more of a worse spot for them, depending on who it is. I think it has positives and its negatives for the league, and I think only time will tell on if it really does help them or not.
Oh, I agree completely. Me and Brody talked about this quite a bit. We talked about how there was going to be positives and negatives doing this, making this type of move. We understood that a lot of GMs are not going to be happy about this. And at the same time, with everybody being under a $500K contract that's going to be drafted, there's a high probability that some of your best players are going to get called up. But that's the nature of the CHL. That's the nature of the AHL too. Like when you manage in the AHL, like whoever decides to move up after the season, you guys have to understand that the NHL is always going to take priority. The owners there are always going to take your players. So, the one of the reasons why I was not completely sold on the draft in the beginning was because everybody was going to be 500K. You know?
Hmm.
And that means that a lot of great players are going to be moved up, you know. But, you know, as I sat down and thought about it for a long time, I thought about it, and, you know, and more I realized that those great players deserve a shot in the AHL. They deserve a shot in the NHL if they can make it there, you know? Like, if they can make it that far, then we as a league, as a staff, as GMs, AGMs, you know, we should not be holding great players back, you know. We should be giving them opportunities to be better and play against better competition. And, you know, even though I know there's a great ton of players in the CHL that really don't get a chance in the AHL, you know, like, for instance, I have a friend of mine who I actually had on my team in season 17 in Aged Mutton, and I watched him all season last season, and he played extremely well, you know. And but he's probably not going to get another shot in the AHL for a while until people really understand how great of a player he is, you know. Because I had to waive him at one point because I just didn't have room for him. But he tore it up in the CHL last season, you know. He placed, I think it was like 13th or 14th for points last
Yeah.
season in his league, and you know he played great. But you know, if we have people like, you know, Kovalev, who was drafted this season, you know, in the NHL entry draft, you know, and
J
if
Money, like you
he,
said.
you know, if he went to the CHL and went for 8 million, you know, he would never be moved up.
Hmm.
But he's the type of player that deserves a shot at the higher levels. So our justification was, you know, even though we know it's going to make it extremely hard for you guys, and we're sorry about that, we owe it to the players to give them a shot at being, you know, the best they can be during these, you know, during your virtual career, you know, which is what LG is all about, you know. So
Yes, definitely.
Um,
And I actually see a lot of guys signing up late. Like there was one person that stood out to me, King Namor, for example. He'd be available for the draft, and you know, like he's an amazing player. I've played with him. He was he was the top in points and goals for season 4 in the CHL back with Gatineau, and I've played with him a couple of times. Amazing player, great dude, and he's one of those guys that could easily go up to AHL. I'm surprised he wouldn't be going up to NHL, for example. And that's actually the next question I'm going to get into. Considering that I know there's a lot of mixed opinions between GMs and AGMs and players. I know there's a lot of kind of 50-50 between whether they like the draft system or the bidding system. Do you think that the draft system is something that you guys are going to want to implement seasons forward, or do you think that the bidding would return sometime soon?
um, if this like completely flops and it is worse than we expected, then we'll have to sit down and talk about it. I don't think we really know the answer. It all depends on how it works, how the season goes. If it goes well and it shows that yeah, it's much better for them, then I think this would be the way of the future. Otherwise, we'd have to sit down and all talk about it and see what would be best for the league.
You know, what are your thoughts on that?
yeah, I mean, you know, until the draft happens, which I mean, it doesn't, it's not scheduled to happen until tomorrow, you know.
Yeah.
Until we see how the draft happens, and you know, we know it's going to be a long draft, and you know that's going to be one of the drawbacks, you know. But until we know how everything shapes up, and you know how everything goes and how the season goes, if it makes the CHL league more competitive, then I am all for keeping the draft, you know. But if it makes it, you know, worse in some way, then you know we're going to sit down and we're going to talk about, you know, the draft didn't go the way we wanted it to, you know. But until we can really have a solid, concrete view on how everything went, we can't really comment on that until
Hmm.
everything goes down, you know.
Yeah, man, that's definitely understandable because I know that there's I know that there's been several GMs, AGMs that, you know, there's some that really like the idea, there's some that aren't necessarily so sure about the idea, and I think that some of the things that have to do with that is that I guess that the announce I guess it kind of happened, you know, right when people started to scout. So I guess it kind of came a little bit more unexpected for some of the managers like me, for example, or the seventh defense that had some management experience and are used to the bidding style. So it might be a little bit different. So I think that kind of might have had some kind of impact on what the managers thought of it as well, because they're so used to the bidding style and not used to a draft style. So it kind of shakes up their game plans a little bit.
Right.
And
Yeah.
the thing I do want to say I think this was maybe a touch unfair to the newer GMs, especially that this kind of came out of nowhere to them,
Mhm.
and they
Yeah.
pretty much mostly all had their plans down on what to do for bidding, and then this came out of nowhere to them, and they're like, "Oh crap! Now everything has to change." And I do think that was a little unfair, but now they're a little tested, and now I think this is a point to see. It's a test for them to see really how good they are.
Oh yeah, definitely. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how the draft turns out. So make sure that you guys tune into that. It's definitely going to be interesting. The draft starts at 7 o'clock Eastern tomorrow night. Starting with the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds with the first pick. So make sure to watch out for that. So the next question I'm going to have is I'm gonna start with Zeno here. What are your guys' expectations or hopes for the season? Considering this is gonna be the last season before we go over to the next generation console on the one NHL 16. What are your expectations and hopes for the season? 'Cause I know last season was a little shaky with all of the bans and all of the management quitting. So what are your expectations for the season?
Really, our expectations is just as long as everybody in the CHL has fun, you know, if all the GMs have a successful season by their own standards, you know, whether that's winning a cup, whether that's just making it through the season, you know, whatever their standards may be, you know, as long as everybody comes out of the season feeling like they had a good season, that's essentially what we're aiming for this season. You know, we had a lot of. I mean, I'm going to be the first one to say that we did have a lot of bans last season, and I mean, the other staff members have been saying that I'm way too lenient with the way, you know, bans went because except in extraneous circumstances, I did not want to ban anybody for 2 seasons. You know, like a lot of people can attest to the fact that, you know, I mean, even Billy, like I went very easy on a lot of people, and a lot of people should have been banned for a lot longer. But I felt like it was unfair to do that to people. You know, like after one season of sitting out, I think that everybody should have a fresh start, especially in the CHL, especially when a lot of the members here are new. You know, they come from smaller leagues, and I played in smaller leagues. It's hard, but you know, for the most part, it's you know, as long as everyone comes out feeling successful, you know, we're you know, as long as everyone you know is happy and has fun, then we're good. You know.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, like what you were saying with the bans and stuff, you could take somebody like bursting fungus last season with the whole thing with trading himself to St. John's, and I think he traded like his whole entire roster. Also known as quote unquote fire sale to some of the managers and players from season 6. You know, like he got a what do you get? I think like a 4 season ban and something like that. I think he got like a 4 or 5 season ban for that, so he won't even be able to return for the one season.
We can't speak on that, you know, but just know that that fire sale was only a small, very very small contributing factor to what happened. He did things that were a lot worse that eventually just were not was completely out of my hands. You know what he did. You know his bans came down from Brody because of what he did. You know so just know that. Never break the rules to the point where Brody has to get involved, and then I don't have a say in the matter. Like I said before, I'm very lenient, but when you do something bad enough to where Brody has to step in, then there's a problem. You know, so
And
you know, just make sure you guys are following the rules and you guys understand the rule book, because I do not like. I definitely do not want to go through something like that again. You know.
yeah,
So
I've talked to Brody several times. He actually gave me my first shot at management in season 5 with the half CHL season. He's a cool dude, but if you break the rules, he's not afraid to put the ban hammer on you. Neither are you or any of the other bogs. That's something for a lot of the for a lot of the management, even the players to remember. Just don't break the rules. Just do everything clean. There's no reason to try to twist or bend the rules for no reason. We're all here to have fun. We're all here to play some good competitive sixes. But anyways, Billy, what's your thoughts on your expectations and hopes for the season?
Hopefully we don't have to remove any GMs. I say we had a few incidences where we were forced to, where we did not want to, but we had to because like we don't ever go into a season though. Yeah, let's remove everybody. Ooh, yeah, we want to have a perfect season. We want to have everybody do good and stick to it because that's best for them, best for the league, and it looks better. And we don't want everyone to start having to get removed. And unfortunately, we had to do some bans last season. And like I said, we didn't want to, but we had to for numerous reasons that we can't get into. But hopefully, we don't have to do any. And I know maybe I'm being a little too hopeful with that, but hopefully we don't have to do much bans next year.
Yeah, and I think that that's kind of why you guys I think you guys did a good job kind of being careful with who you selected for management. You didn't want to you wanted to make sure that if you selected someone, you wanted to be able to trust them and they would be reliable to do the job, to not just do the little unnecessary things like breaking the rules or giving money to trade players or just little things like that. You just wanted to kind of make sure that they would be a good reliable manager to not only stick to the rules, but to make the league a great place to be in, to be able to please the players, and just make sure that everything's running smoothly.
yeah, I mean, there was definitely some players that we thought that wanted to be management that we thought had some potential, but they needed some seasoning in the CHL or in the LG League in particular. We felt that playing as a player for a couple seasons, understanding what management goes through, would definitely benefit them in the long run. You know, and you know, as long as they get that experience, we think that a lot of those people that applied for management will end up getting it in future seasons. But we did not want to put them in a position where we knew they were going to quit because they didn't understand what they were getting into. So that's the whole reason, that's one of the reasons why we did those interviews. Because, last season, like we as staff, like myself and Billy, we were in seventh as well at that point. We didn't pick our management, we didn't pick the management for the CHO at all. And as a couple seasons or a couple weeks went by, you saw the people that were getting overwhelmed in those situations, and that's the reason why we originally came up with the idea to do the interviews, was to make sure that that didn't happen again, that you guys all understood exactly what you were getting into right away. So
Yeah, definitely, and I definitely like what you guys did with the interviews and stuff. I think things will probably run a lot smoother, and hopefully there won't be as many bans or anything like that this season. So this is definitely probably gonna be I definitely think we'll end on a good high note for the season, closing out on the 360.
we hope so.
All right, so let's we're running out of time here. What do you guys have for your final thoughts or comments?
Um, Pretty much just the same thing that I told everybody at the end of the management meeting we had. Make sure everybody follows the rules. From the management to the players. Like even the TC players, they can be a tremendous help to the manager that understands how to use them. So make sure everybody follows the rules. Make sure that if you guys have questions for any reason, the players can always go to management, and the management can always come to me. You know, Typically blogs are supposed to stay neutral on everything, And that's why I try to make myself as available as possible, for you guys to have any kind of questions, and even if players message me, I'm usually, pretty quick on getting back with most people, so
Definitely.
just make sure that everybody has fun, because that's really why we're all here, right? We're all trying to have fun,
Definitely.
and that's the reason why Billy and I and Chewbacca, who's not here tonight, took on these positions is because we felt like we would be able to do a lot of good for you guys to be able to run the league a lot smoother so you guys could have a lot more fun here. So that's essentially what we're doing. So, if you guys have any questions at all, you're always free to message me. You're always free to talk to me, like spamming is not messaging me, okay? One message and I will see it and I will get back to you. Like I don't ignore anybody. So other than that, like I'm looking forward to seeing an extremely competitive season because we have some very good GMs this season.
Oh, yeah.
We have some GMs that I don't know have ever actually been in management before, but I'm looking forward to seeing how well they do. Sport Freak is the one that pops to mind. I don't think he's ever actually done anything, but the interview we had from him was very enlightening. We thought that he could very well do the job really well, and I'm looking forward to what kind of team he builds next season. But we have a lot of good GMs coming back too. Pete Cruz is coming back. He's been very dedicated. He had some problems last season, but
Yeah.
that's his own. But he's coming back, and he looks to be building a strong team. So I think top to bottom, I think
Defense, for example.
everybody. Yeah, seventh is a scrub.
That's a compliment.
Yeah. So I think there's like top to bottom, like 1 to 20. I think everybody could end up having a very, very good team. I still think seventh is probably going to finish in the bottom, but it is what it is. He'll score like 150 points this season, and then he'll finish last, and then it'll be okay.
Yeah, man. I know there was a couple of people last season that was their first season as GM. Take North Bay's GM, Lazy Joey, for example. I don't think I've seen him in management before.
I think he actually managed in season 4 or 5. I know he's done it before.
Yeah, but like I personally haven't heard of him, but like he was somebody that was definitely on the rise. I know there was a couple other guys that really did a good job of leading their teams to where they were really good and they contended really well. I think that I can expect much more of it this season. Canadian Pride could possibly be somebody to look out for. Like you said, Pete Cruz. There's definitely some GMs, Rowdy, who's returning, who completely turned around Niagara once Bane had to step down. So there's definitely a lot of GMs.
Snake did the same thing, Snake even went on to own a team in the IHL. So I mean, he's taken the experience from taking over like mid-season last season and his IHL experience, and he brought it to the CHL this season. So he very much knows what he's looking for, and he could end up building a very strong team. So
definitely,
like I said, top to bottom, like. There's a lot of good GMs out there, and a lot of them know what they're looking for, So hopefully everything goes well.
Yes, definitely. And like you said, look out for that one guy that, hasn't had any management experience before that could just come out and possibly just, really just kind of shake the league up and make a good start. But Billy, I think have I gotten to you yet on your hopes and stuff for the season?
I think I answered that before. I'll say it again though, just in case. Like I said, I think I said this. Hoping that we don't have to do many bans. Hoping it's a nice, fun season and everyone has a good time, good experience. Like I think I've said this to Z3NO many times. For a lot of players, this is their first experience, and this is going to make or break their careers in LG. And this is an amazing site, amazing league. The job to Triz and Brody for running it, and in order to support that league and keep it going for a long time, the CHL players coming in have to have a good experience. They have to have a good time, and because without the CHL, I feel a lot of the league loses something, and a lot of it loses a lot of people, lose a lot of the future, and so it's key that they have a good time and they come in and they learn correctly and they don't get screwed over. And hopefully that is something that happens and they do have a great time this year.
Definitely, definitely. I just want to thank you guys for coming out here tonight. Thank you guys for taking the time out of your night for coming out and giving us your thoughts here on the season and the draft and everything. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, it's no problem.
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching. If you guys aren't signed up to LG yet, just go to LeagueGaming.com. You know, they have a bunch of great hockey leagues. They have FIFA, Madden, 2K, those two on the one. They have a lot of great stuff. Tris and Brody run the site very well. So also coming out with the LG V5, which will definitely be very exciting when next gen comes out, having a lot of new features.
Yeah,
But,
we've
yeah.
actually the commissioners have been able to take a look at that and like some of the stuff, and you guys are not going to be disappointed. It looks amazing. It really does. A lot of the stuff he's going to add is going to be just so amazing for the league. Come when we switch to the one, it's going to be like the only word that comes to mind is amazing. It really is going to be awesome to see, you know. So
Yes, and Tris just he just outdoes himself every day. He does so much for the site. Like I was actually at PM and back and forth with him the other day, trying to get help with the YouTube access. It might have taken him like 30 or 45 seconds to answer back. He does a lot of stuff with the site. Um, really easy to get in touch with. You know, does a lot of great stuff. So shout out to him. You know, shout out to Brody for doing stuff with the site. I know he puts in a lot of hard work and so do you guys as the boss and commissioners. You guys put in the hard work day and night to make sure that the league runs smoothly, and it's kind of one of those jobs that aren't necessarily appreciated as much, but we really do thank you guys for not only coming out but putting in the hard work each and every day to make sure that the league runs smoothly. But wait, were you about to say something, Zeno?
no, man, it's you know, when I first interviewed Billy and when I interviewed Chewbacca this season as well, I told him that this job is not going to be one that you're going to get a lot of thank yous. You're going to get more people yelling at you than anything. They have a reason to yell sometimes. Like if they feel passionate enough about their team to yell at you, then that's a great thing. But you just got to make sure you never overstep your bounds when you come to us, because we're not here to screw anybody over. We're not here to make sure we have no agenda against anybody. We're not out to screw you guys. Even though there's been some GMs that have come to us and told me that we're out to get them, that is not true at all. We honestly, we don't really care who wins, who loses, as long as everyone has a good time. So, I do want to thank Billy, for coming on for a second season, even though he knows how hard this job is, and Chewbacca, stepping up and doing it. And, we have some new blogs in the upper leagues too, as well with Leafy and KB Smith, and they're props to them for definitely stepping up. So. We think that overall, no matter what league you guys end up in, whether it's the CHL, the AHL, the NHL, we have good staff all the way up. So I think everyone's going to have a good time this season.
Definitely, and I think that we will be able to end on a really high note to end out the 360 era and to be able to go up to the Xbox One and the LG V5 and definitely be able to start the new era up there, going ending off here on the 360 on the high note. And like I said, thanks to you guys for coming out, and thanks to you guys for listening. Feel free to give the video a like or leave your comments in the comment section. Thanks to you guys for watching, and also a huge shout out to F5 Penguin, Rushback, and the whole media team for letting me do this and letting me be a part of the media team. So thanks to you guys. Thanks to Z3NO and Billy for coming out tonight, and I hope you guys have a great night. And I will see you guys later. Take it easy.